Hey everyone, my name is Tegan and welcome back to TandeWrites, where today we are wrapping up my reading for the month of May. And I'm sat here looking at my reading journal as if I filled it out this month. I wrote the numbers, I wrote the book that I started reading, and then I just never came back to it. And I will confess, this is my lowest reading month yet. I read 7 books, which is, again, low for my standards, but probably like a not for other people. I've had a lot of free time recently, or just in my life. So the lack of books this month is confusing. And yeah, I don't think I finished reading my first book until the middle of the month. But yeah, motivation has been low this month. It's got very suddenly warm here, so my chronic pain condition's flaring up, and my dog has been sick. So just things are taking priority. But yeah, I read 7 books, here they are, and let's get into some stats. And there's a lot less moods on here this month, as one might expect when you read less books, but we still have emotional and adventurous taking the lead. Dark is up there, but funny's doing pretty good. And that is because I've read, out of the 7 books, 2 of which were T. Kingfisher and 2 of which were Margaret Owen, both of which are known for humour. 6 out of 7 books were fantasy. There are, as always, predominantly YA, and then the rest of the genres is just a little one here, one there. There's not much going on in terms of my genres. And my average rating was 3.64 stars. Every book this month was either 2.5 stars, 3.5 or 4 stars. And once again, I didn't have a favourite read for the month, but I did quite enjoy most of them. First book I finished reading this month was Painted Devils by Margaret Owen, a book I did read this through the library because I've read Little Thieves last month, completely fell in love with it, and then bought somewhere on these shelves, probably directly behind me, I got Little Thieves and I got Painted Devils in paperback from like some kind of Waterstones offer that was going on, and then Painted Devils arrived halfway through me reading it. So I just continued my library ebook read. And Painted Devils I really did enjoy. Not quite as much as Little Thieves. It still had the same great humour, a lot of the characters that I love. The plot, slightly different. To the point where, because the first book was largely set in the castle, Painted Devils is more set in these little towns, little villages in the world. And I would have a dozen of these books, just exploring different parts of the world with different characters. Didn't enjoy Painted Devils as much as Little Thieves, but still loved it. Like, if this was a first book by a different author, I probably would have given it 5 stars as well. But because I gave Little Thieves 5 stars, everything else just going to come slightly lower, despite being an incredible book. Next up is Belladonna by Adeline Grace, and this is a book that I've had my TBR for a while, because I think when I first read the description, it must have been like when the book first came out, I put my TBR, I thought, great, that sounds like a book I'll love. And I know I read this book this month, because I can see the proof right in front of me. I don't remember reading it. I have a very vague memory of lying on the sofa, watching my dog try and fight and get his cone off with my e-reader in hand, and something was on the page. The only thing I really remember from this book is like the death plot twist, but in terms of like other plot elements, could not tell you. Someone was getting poisoned. If that stands out from a different book where people got poisoned, I don't know, was it like The Cloisters? No, it was... oh god. There's another book where people got poisoned. It has one of those books, was it called like Tripping Arcadia? Yeah, they could be the same book to me. I liked the other one more and I still didn't like that one. Next is The Knight and the Butcher Bird by Alex E. Harrow, because apparently Alex E. Harrow just has a load of short stories about all these like Amazon original stories, and I don't know like the logistics of why everything is like Amazon exclusive original, but I really enjoyed this one, as expected. The only Alex E. Harrow book I've read in full was Starling House. I gave it 5 stars, I loved it. I think last month or the month before, I read the short story, like the 6 Deaths of the Saint, six Lives of the Saint. If you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. And I believe that book is getting like a full-length novel version coming out probably sometime this year. It's the Lady Knight book. And I'm just absolutely enchanted by Alex E. Harrow at the moment. So I read The Knight and the Butcher Bird. My memory of what it's about is fading right now. Except it's got like the kind of a slight zombie vibe. But again, I would read a full-length novel version of this short story as well. I'm like enraptured by it. It makes me feel so many feelings in such a short amount of time. Then my only reread this month, and it was via audiobooks, I love to reread books via audiobooks, was I Was Born for This by Alice Osman. And I originally thought that this was my least favourite Alice book. And it probably, out of their novels, probably still might be, but I appreciated this so much more on my rereads than I did when I first read it. Because now that I'm a little bit older, now that more importantly, I'm older than the characters, because I was probably a lot closer in age when I was a teenager when I first read it. but now I can really appreciate, you know, the fandom, fangirl, celebrity dynamic. And also the thing that hit me so much about this book is one of the characters struggling, like feeling like he's created a prison out of his own life and he can't escape from something he chose for himself. And sometimes things just hit more when you're older and you've made some strange decisions with your life. Then my one physical read of the month was Clockwork Boys by T. Kingfisher. This was a slight impulse purchase because I was browsing like Waterstones Bristol or somewhere and I saw it. It's like, oh my god, a T. Kingfisher book. Every time I think I've like made a significant dent in reading her back catalogue, another one appears. And this one appeared and I thought, oh my god, steampunky, I love it. And I had a suspicion as I got through reading it. I thought, we're like, in terms of in my head what the plot should be, I thought, okay, we're like 30% of the way through the plot, but we're 70% of the way through the book. And I skipped ahead because I sometimes just read acknowledgements midway through the book, and it confirmed my suspicion that this book is technically, I would say it's first of a duology, but it reads more as, well, T. Kingfisher wrote in the acknowledgements that she wrote a mammoth of the book, and then she just cut it in half. And this is part 1, and part 2 is, I don't remember, the Clock Tower something, Clock Tower War. But yeah, this should have, like, you know, complete character arcs, complete story arcs to work as an independent book, like book 1 of a duology, but this is just part 1 of one book, which for whatever reason has just been split into a duology. But I still really enjoyed it because I'm obsessed with T. Kingfisher. I love her characters, I love her humour, I love how she writes fantasy with like the slight horror hybrid and the steampunk elements of this one. I gave this 4 stars and I can't wait to work out how I can read the second half. So yeah, for half a book, I loved it. I think T. Kingfisher is just, she's become an auto-buy author for me. I'm obsessed with every word she puts on page. Every time she puts her pen to paper, I'm gonna be there. Next up, I read Holy Terrors by Margaret Owen, which is book 3 of like this Little Thieves trilogy. And this is probably like the fastest I've read a full series. Usually I read book 1, I wait a good 3 years, and I read book 2 and I give it another 3 years and maybe I'll read book 3. But all 3 books within like a 2-month period for me, incredible. And also Holy Terrors I didn't enjoy as much as the other ones. Plot-wise, I probably liked it significantly less. We're back to a different castle, but the thing about this book, it's got a lot of fantasy character names, and there are a lot of characters, and I just could not keep them straight in my head at all, to the point where I was like, okay, I need to start writing notes. I didn't write notes, but I was thinking it. And that did take away a lot of my enjoyment for the book, so I just can't work out what's going on. And it's so twisty, and the characters are so smart, and sometimes you get a reveal where the character's like, oh, the plan's gone wrong, but actually we're going to do our backup second plan that goes right, but that backup second plan's obviously not discussed anywhere on page. Where sometimes it feels like the rug's being pulled out under me a bit, and I'm just like, I'm lost. And this one also had, we went into alternate timelines for a bit, and I was reading this in the fever dream at this point because I already started getting into it. There's a fly in here. Sorry if you can hear the fly, but so can I. But I started really getting into it and it got very twisty and confusing. I was like, I have no idea what's going on, but I can't like slow down to process it at all. So yeah, plot-wise, enjoyed it a lot less, but we did return to some of my favourite characters, and the sense of humour is still there, slightly less, as this one has like a significantly darker tone, especially in the second half compared to the other 2. For me at least, this one was significantly more emotional and it hit me a lot, and I think I wrote a note as I was like doing my Goodreads updates, around 75%. I thought, you know, maybe I'm sold on romance. It took 3 books to develop this relationship. Is it a slow burn? I can't really tell anymore. But I'm convinced with romance, and also just the emotional arc Vanya goes through, I'm completely enraptured. And the final book I read this month, book 7, is The Seventh Bride by T. Kingfisher. This one I started reading yesterday and I finished reading it yesterday. The version I read is only about 250 pages long, so it's like very reasonable to read in one day if you're someone with a quick reading pace and a lot of time to spare. But as I've been slacking away reading this month, I thought, oh, there's no way I'm gonna finish reading it in one day. But I'm just enraptured by T. Kingfisher's writing style. And I will say, The Seventh Bride, out of every T. Kingfisher book I've read, including this Strange Half book, The Seventh Bride is my least favourite. I gave it 3.5 stars, but I think if I read this book by any other author, I would have given it like 4. I would have given it a higher rating. Because with T. Kingfisher, I have this, like, this haven't read. I liked it, but it's not as good as, I don't like it as much as Hollow Places. I don't like it as much as Nettle and Bone. I don't like it as much as the Guide to Defensive Baking that Wizard won. And I don't like it as much as pretty much any of her books, but I still really enjoyed it. Which is such a strange thing to like love an author so much that a book that'll be a good book or a great book by a different author feels mediocre from them. And this book also had some twisty, almost slight alternate timeline vibes for a chapter. I was following a little bit more in this one. I would like a 500-page version of this book because I want so much more. Like, really enjoyed it, still want more from it. Because T. Kingfisher is like the queen of short word length, which is like great representation for me as a writer who only writes short books. But I'm greedy. I want more. Like, this story does work sufficiently in a small word count and it's satisfying, but I'm so greedy. I want more. So I'd say Painted Devils is probably my favourite read of the month. I usually don't go with any book in a series other than the first of my favourite reads, but I don't want to say The Night and the Butcher Bird was, because it was only 30 pages long and that feels unfair. But yeah, they're the books I read this month. Hoping June will be a more plentiful and bountiful reading month for me. And I've also not had a new favourite book in a while. I mean, when was my last new favourite book? Actually, it was probably literally last month with Little Thieves. But I've only had 3, like, genuine new 5-star reads this year, and it feels very underwhelming. But next month I hope to read more. I'll also get some mid-year stats, and I need to like my mid-year favourites list is coming up, and that's going to be very short if I have no favourites. But thanks so much for watching this video, and I hope to see you next time. Bye!